go into to counseling and all other experiences. Now, let us important for us to realize that love in marriage, I mentioned this during the week. Love in marriage is not a commodity that you bring into marriage like 20 liters of love that runs out. It is not when people say I don't love you anymore, they seem to create an impression that the liters that I had, maybe it was leaking or whatever it is, but I no longer have. No. According to the Bible, love in marriage is not a commodity that you bring. Love in marriage is an instruction that we are given. It's an instruction to be obeyed. Ephesians 5:25, it says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Now we need to understand that God, as the creator of the institution of marriage, we need to understand that you are not the owner of the institution of marriage. Marriage belongs to God. That's why if you enter it, you are entering God's territory. And God says, I will instruct you on how to behave. I will instruct you on what you must do. You are playing in my game. And in my game as God, I'll tell you how to behave. And that's why he gives instruction. That if you wake up and you find somebody next to you and it's your spouse, the Bible says love that person. Also, as we find in Titus 2 verse 4 and 5, that the older women must teach among other things, the younger women how to love their spouses. Therefore, there is nothing, as we mentioned during the week, there is nothing like I don't love you anymore. There is only something called I don't obey God anymore. Because the idea and the concept of love within marriage was not in the first place something about me, something that I do when I feel like doing. It's not about that. It's about obedience to God. So you can only say, I don't obey God anymore. I'm tired of obeying God. Number two, marriage is more important than happiness in marriage. Now that sounds controversial. Now, because most people, they measure marriage using happiness. They say they are happily married. We have heard in the fairy tales where they live happily ever after. Now, nobody live happily after. It's only in fairy tales. There's nothing like that in real life. So many people are tempted to measure marriage based on the idea and the concept of happiness. No. Marriage must be measured by how it fulfills its purpose here on earth. Not based on whether we are happy or not. Because when we sign up on the marriage in the first beginning, it says for better, for worse. And between for better and for worse, anything in between, not just happiness, anything in between has been covered. Now, we also need to realize that you won't find happiness in marriage. You won't find it. In marriage, you bring your own happiness. Marriage is bring and share. Before you get married, you go to Jesus, and in Jesus you find joy, peace, and happiness. And when you get married, you bring your own scarf-tin, your own lunchbox of love, of happiness. And you say to your partner, let's have a buffet. Bring yours. And that's why if you decide to leave me, I don't get depressed, I don't collapse, I don't fall down, I just go back to my lunchbox. The one that God had given me in the first place. Because the idea and the concept, and there are so many of you who are expecting from marriage what marriage cannot give. You go to a person, when you are sad, miserable, and you go say, make me happy, make me happy. How can a human being create happiness? If you are sad and miserable before marriage, you will be sad and miserable in marriage. You need to go to the right place. That's why nobody was supposed to go direct into the altar of marriage. They were supposed to start at the altar of Calvary. And there they are born again. And there they are connected with Christ. And then they can come down, having been to the altar of Calvary, into the altar of marriage. If you enter marriage without being in the altar of Calvary, marriage will test you, will try you until you want to run out. Because all of those things that many of us are expecting from marriage, marriage does not provide. It is unfortunate that for many of us, the idea of happiness and joy within marriage has been elusive. And I would like to suggest that right there where you are staying, where you are,